You feel the tap of your thumb against the screen, the faint vibration, the little rush of connection when you see a new message. You can't not look. You're on a bus, in a line, sitting in a quiet room, and the pull is visceral. It's not about the information. It's about the who. Who said what, to whom, and what that means. It's the dopamine of the social web, woven directly into your nervous system. It feels so modern, so tied to the little glass rectangle in your hand. But that pull is ancient. That chemical whisper in your brain telling you to check, to know, to connect the social dots. It's not a design flaw of the digital age. It's the single most important survival tool your species ever invented. And for 99.9% of human history, it was a matter of life and death. Your world is a vast, dry grassland 2 million years ago. You are not alone. You are one of maybe 30 individuals in a small, wandering band. The world around you is brutally indifferent. It wants to eat you, starve you, break you. But the real danger isn't the lion in the distance. The lion is simple. You see it, you fear it, you run. The real danger is right next to you. The real danger is the other human, because your survival depends on them. You cannot bring down a giant herbivore alone. You cannot defend against predators alone. You cannot gather enough food, find enough water, raise helpless children alone. You are bound, inextricably, to these 24 other fragile, hairless apes. And every single one of them is a wild card. Each one has their own hunger, their own fears, their own shifting loyalties. Is the man with the strong arm and the quick temper going to share the meat he brought back, or hoard it? Is the woman with the keen eye for roots going to show you the new patch she found, or keep it for her own kin? Who is sleeping with whom? Whose child is favored? Who is weak? And who is just pretending to be strong? If you misread these signals, you die. You get pushed to the edge of the group on a cold night. You get passed over when food is divided. You waste your energy supporting someone who will abandon you when the hyenas come. Your genes end right there. So your brain evolved a new obsession. Not just tracking the physical world, the location of fruit trees, the prints of a leopard, but mapping the invisible social world. Who is allied with whom? Who lied? Who helped? Who cheated? Who has skill? Who has power? Who can be trusted? And the raw data for this map is gossip. It starts simply, a glance, a prolonged look between two people as a third walks away, a grunt of disapproval, a mimic gesture, a shared eye roll before a hunt. These are the proto-words. They are the bits of social code that say, I see what you see. I am on your side. Be careful of him. For hundreds of thousands of years, this is all you have. The silent language of gesture and expression, building a shared understanding of the tribe's ever-shifting politics. But it's inefficient. It's slow. You can't gossip about someone who isn't present with just a frown. You can't warn your friend about a cheater 2 valleys over by squinting. Then, something changes. Around the campfire, in the deepening dark, the sounds coming from your ancestors' throats begin to carry more than alarm calls or basic commands. They start to carry names, and with names comes history. With names comes reputation. You can now say, Korg, and everyone around the fire sees the same man. You can say, Korg, antelope, and they might nod, remembering his successful hunt. But if you say, Korg antelope, riverbed, alone, and you pair it with a certain tone, a certain look, now you have said something transformative. You have implied that Korg found an antelope by the riverbed and did not bring it back to share. You have tagged him, in the minds of your entire band, with the scent of a hoarder. You have just invented moral policing. This is the nuclear core of early gossip. It wasn't idle chat. It was the justice system, the news network, and the social glue of a species that could not survive without extreme cooperation. To be talked about was to exist in the social sphere. To be not talked about was to be isolated, which was a death sentence. So the threat of being gossiped about kept behaviors in check. The act of gossiping built alliances. You and me, talking about them, strengthens us, and the bandwidth was pitifully small. Every word was calories, effort, risk. You wouldn't waste breath on trivial things. The information had to be vital. Who is strong? Who is weak? Who is sick? Who mated? Who stole? Who shared? Who lied? The earliest news bulletins were literally life or death bulletins. But here is where the story twists. Archaeologists and anthropologists long assumed that complex, narrative gossip had to wait for complex language. And complex language, the story went, arrived fairly late, a final polish on the human mind. But the evidence at ancient sites tells a different tale. They expected to find tools, hearths, bones, signs of practical, material survival. Instead, they found beads, tiny, painstakingly crafted shells from the sea, transported hundreds of miles inland, drilled with minute holes, worn as ornaments. They found lumps of ochre, ground into powder, stored. Objects with zero practical use. Objects that served only one purpose: to be seen, to communicate. And not just to say, I am here, but to say, I am from that place by the sea. I am connected to the people who trade for this. I am the kind of person who has the time, skill, and social capital to wear something this delicate and useless. These are statements of identity, of network, of status. They are gossip, frozen in physical form. They are a message meant to spark a conversation. A single seashell bead around the neck of a woman at an inland campfire is a story waiting to happen. It invites the question, where did you get that? It demands an explanation. It establishes a link. That bead isn't jewelry. It's a social sensor, a tiny, wearable piece of reputational data. This changes everything. It means the hunger to track social nuance, to broadcast identity, to manage reputation. The core engine of gossip was driving human evolution long before we had the words to do it fluently. Our ancestors weren't just grunting about predators and food. They were crafting the social universe, bit by bit, bead by bead, gesture by gesture. The pressure to gossip may not have just used language. It may have built language. Because if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a symbol worn on the body is worth 1,000 social calculations. And to decode those symbols, you need a richer, more subtle way to talk. You need to be able to ask not just what, but why, and how, and who else. You need verbs that describe relationships, not just actions. You need the language of reputation. So the campfire conversations grew richer. The data points became stories. The stories became myths. The myths became laws. But this creates a new problem. If gossip is the social radar that keeps the group safe from cheaters and hoarders, what happens when the group gets too big? When you can't personally know, or track, or gossip effectively about everyone you rely on. Your band of 30 is now a tribe of 150. You recognize faces, but you don't know all the names. You don't know all the alliances. The social map in your head is getting blurry, noisy. Trust breaks down. Cooperation phrase. This is the natural ceiling for a group bound only by personal reputation and direct gossip. And yet, humanity blew right past it. We built towns, cities, civilizations of thousands, millions of strangers, who somehow cooperated, not perfectly, but enough to build pyramids, empires, and supply chains. How did we do it? How did we scale a social technology, gossip, that seemed designed for a tiny, intimate band? The answer lies not in abandoning gossip, but in transforming it. We outsourced it. We gave it a body, a name, and a stone pedestal. We invented gods. And suddenly, the most powerful gossip in the village wasn't about who stole a basket of yams. It was about who offended the spirit of the river. The moral policeman was no longer just your auntie clucking her tongue by the fire. It was an invisible, all-knowing entity who saw every secret hoard, every broken promise, every hidden betrayal, and everyone believed it. Because everyone was gossiping about it, the campfire chat had become too small for the world we were building. We needed a bigger campfire, a story so powerful it could bind strangers together, by making their reputations a matter of cosmic consequence. We turned our social radar skyward. The gods were the ultimate gossip mongers. They never slept. They saw everything, and their judgment was eternal. A harvest failed? The community didn't ask who was lazy. They asked who was impure. A child fell sick? They didn't trace it to bad water. They traced it to a broken taboo. Every piece of bad luck became a piece of social data, a clue pointing to a moral failure somewhere in the group. This solved the scaling problem. You no longer needed to personally know that the stranger from the next valley was trustworthy. You just needed to know that he made the same offerings to the same sky father. His reputation was vouched for by a deity, enforced by the shared stories everyone gossiped about. The village priest, interpreting omens and dreams, became the central server for this divine social network. Your private misdeeds were no longer just between you and your neighbor. They were a threat to the rain, to the herds, to everyone. The gossip became sacred, and therefore inescapable. But this cosmic gossip came with a price. Because if the gods saw everything, then your own private thoughts, the jealousy you never acted on, the lust you never spoke, could be an offense. The social radar wasn't just scanning your actions anymore. It was trying to scan your soul. The anxiety of being judged by the tribe was now compounded by the terror of being judged by the universe. You can see the weight of it in the bones. In ancient burial sites, You find skeletons with arthritis in their knees and spines from a lifetime of kneeling, of prostration. You find teeth worn down from grit in ritual fasting meals. These are the physical cost of living under permanent, divine surveillance. The body pays the price for a mind trying to stay clean in the eyes of an invisible, gossiping crowd. And yet, it worked. It allowed groups of thousands to coordinate, to build, to go to war for a shared idea. Gossip had created its own container, religion. And for millennia, this was the primary operating system for human society. Your reputation was your credit score with the divine. But then, another shift. One that moved the gossip from the temple square back into the home and onto the page. You are in a merchant's house in Florence, 600 years ago. The world is still ruled by divine gossip, by the fear of hellfire. But a new technology is spreading, one that runs on rag pulp and ink. The printing press. And with it, something extraordinary happens. Gossip becomes portable. Before, a scandal in your town might be whispered at the well, might be preached from the pulpit. Now, it can be said in type. It can be carried in a saddlebag to the next city. It can be read aloud in a tavern where nobody knows the people involved. The social radar is no longer local. Its signal is traveling. At first, these printed pages are full of sermons and edicts. Divine gossip, official version. But soon, the margins fill with the human stuff. Pamphlets circulate detailing the corrupt magistrate, the adulterous countess, the bizarre new fashion in Paris. They are cheap, they are sensational, and they sell out immediately. Because the brain's ancient circuit, the one that demanded to know who did what to whom, doesn't care if the who lives in your street or in a palace across the Alps. The circuit lights up all the same. The dopamine whispers. Asterisk learn this. This is social data. This might be useful. Asterisk the public sphere is born, and it is built on gossip. The coffee houses of London aren't debating pure philosophy. They are buzzing with the latest news from the colonies. The latest rumor about the king's health. The latest satire of a politician. This is gossip on an industrial scale, and it begins to do something revolutionary. It holds power accountable. Not perfectly, not evenly, but for the first time, the reputation of a king could be damaged by stories printed a continent away. The divine right of kings met the printed gossip of the masses, and it started to crack. The social radar had found a new amplifier. The social radar had found a new amplifier, and it was about to get a microphone. Crackle. Hiss. A voice in your living room, speaking as if to you alone. Radio. Then, a flickering gray image in a box. Television. The 20th century didn't just spread gossip. It professionalized it. It created entire industries dedicated to the careful manufacturing and management of reputation on a mass scale. Now, the who could be a movie star you would never meet. The what could be a scandal unfolding in real time. Your brain, still optimized for a band of 30 on a savanna, was now being fed a nonstop feast of social information about millions of people. The circuit, once so crucial for survival, was now running in overdrive with no off switch. It felt natural because it was the same old hunger. But the scale was incomprehensible, which is why, when the internet arrived, it didn't feel like a new invention. It felt like a homecoming. It felt like the campfire, rebuilt to planetary size. The early web was text on a screen, bulletin boards, chat rooms. It was pure, unadorned gossip. You were judged by your words, your wit, your reputation in a tiny digital tribe. It was the Pleistocene, but with usernames. Then came the profiles, the photos, the likes, the shares. A like is a grunt of approval by the ancient fire. A share is you turning to your friend and saying, "Did you hear about this?" A comment thread is the entire band arguing over whether Cord was right to keep that antelope. The technology is alien, but the behavior is achingly familiar. We are building our social maps, managing our reputations, policing morals, and forming alliances, just as we always have. The glass rectangle in your hand isn't a phone. It's the latest, most powerful gossip stone ever carved. And this is where we find the twist. That buzzing, anxious, addictive pull you feel towards your screen. The thing that feels like a modern sickness is the exact same neural pull that kept your ancestors alive. It is the engine of human cooperation. When you scroll, you are not wasting time. You are performing a deep, ancient ritual. You are updating your map of the human social universe. You are checking on your tribe, but the tribe is now 8 billion people. The map is infinite, and the engine that was built for a small, clear world is now screaming in the noise. So we try to manage the overload. We create smaller fires within the giant one. We join private groups. We curate feeds. We follow influencers who feel like trusted elders in a digital band. We are, in real time, using a 2 million-year-old social operating system to navigate a world it was never designed for. The anxiety you feel when you're left on read, the surge when a post gets likes, the hours lost down a rabbit hole of drama. This isn't a personal failing. It's a biological mismatch. You have a survival-grade gossip radar trying to find a clear signal in a universe of static. And the evidence for this isn't just in our behavior. It's in our bodies. Researchers see it when they put people in experiments where they are socially excluded online. The brain regions that light up are the same ones that process physical pain. Being ignored in a group chat triggers a neural alarm that screams, "You are being pushed to the edge of the campfire. The cold night is coming." Your body cannot tell the difference between digital isolation and Pleistocene exile. The threat is coded as mortal. Meanwhile, the dopamine hit from a positive social notification uses the same reward pathway that once celebrated a successful alliance or a valuable piece of social intelligence. Your smartphone, in essence, is a portable, hyper-efficient campfire that can deliver both the profound comfort of social belonging and the sharp sting of social exile. 100 times an hour. We have put the most powerful driver of human evolution into our pockets, and we are surprised we can't look away. We outsourced our gossip to gods to manage large groups. We outsourced it to printing presses and televisions to manage nations. Now, we have outsourced it to algorithms, which are the new, silent, omnipotent priests. They decide which gossip spreads, which reputations are boosted, which social bonds are highlighted. They are building our social maps for us, based on what keeps us engaged, which is to say, based on what triggers that ancient, survival-grade curiosity most effectively. We perfected the technology of connection by weaponizing our deepest survival instinct. And in doing so, we built a world where that instinct is constantly, endlessly stimulated, with no rest and no resolution. The campfire is always burning. The stories never stop. And your nervous system, the nervous system of a social animal that triumphed because it learned to gossip, can never quite log off. So you sit in the soft glow of that infinite campfire, holding its embers in your hand. You scroll, you tap, you feel the ancient pull, and then you feel the modern guilt for following it. You tell yourself you should put it down, be present, log off. But that guilt is based on a lie, the lie that this pull is trivial. It was never trivial. It built you. Every time you pause a video to read the comments, you are checking the tone of the tribe. You are sampling the consensus. When you rewatch a friend's story to see who else has seen it, you are mapping alliances. When you hesitate before posting, crafting the perfect caption, you are engaging in high-stakes reputation management, the direct descendant of that woman choosing which bead to wear to the inland fire. The medium has changed. The imperative has not. Asterisk be seen. Be understood. Be connected correctly. Asterisk this is why it exhausts you. A hunter-gatherer might have spent 4 hours a day on subsistence. The rest was social maintenance, grooming, chatting, crafting bonds. Your brain is still calibrated for that ratio of effort to reward. But now, the social maintenance never ends. The fire is in your bedroom, your bathroom, your pocket. There is no walking away from the band. The work of reading the room is now a full-time job within universe-sized office. And your nervous system is paying the overtime in pure stress hormones. We have not invented new social anxieties. We have simply taken the old, life or death ones, and dialed the volume up to a cosmic scream. The fear of being talked about behind your back is now the fear of a screenshot going viral. The need to belong to a protective group is now the pressure to signal your identity through shared memes. The dread of exile is now the silent panic of a shrinking number of followers. These feel real because, to your biology, they are real. The system cannot tell the scale. It only knows the signal, social threat. You hold the latest model in a 2 million-year-old lineage of gossip stones. From a shell on a string, to a printed pamphlet, to a buzzing slab of glass. The next model will be implanted in your retina or whispered directly into your thoughts by an AI that knows your social anxieties better than you do. The fire will only get closer. The stories will only get louder. But you get to choose, moment by moment, which fires you gather around. You get to notice when your pulse quickens, not because of a true social threat, but because an algorithm has learned to mimic one perfectly. That noticing is your power. It is the sliver of daylight between the ancient instinct and the modern action. In the end, you will never not feel the pull. You are built to feel it. It is the signature of your species. The longing to know who did what to whom is the very thread that stitched humanity together. So the goal is not to break the thread, but to feel its tension, to know its strength, and to decide, with intention, what you want to tie to the other end. You put the phone down. The room is quiet. For a second, the infinite campfire is out of sight. And in that silence, you can almost hear the older, quieter question beneath all the noise. The one your ancestors were really trying to answer with every glance, every bead, every whispered story around the flame. Asterisk, am I safe here? Are we in this together? Asterisk. You feel the weight of that question in your chest, a legacy written into your bones. Then you go find someone, in the flesh, and you ask them how their day was. And for a few minutes, the map of the entire world shrinks down to the size of a single, understanding face. The circuit quiets, the radar rests. The campfire, for now, is just a fire. And you are simply warm.